Many times on this blog I've posted letters that Jack has written to me. I don't post all of them, but especially the ones that I think that you would enjoy reading as you followed his story. And this one just came yesterday. It's dated February 22nd, 2011. And if you'd like to write Jack, here's his address. He always enjoys getting letters from all of you. It's Jack Nissalke, 123479, 7600 525th Street, Rush City, Minnesota 55069. This is a letter he asked me to give to you because it's a letter from him to you, all the readers and viewers of the blog that support this cause. He says, "John, hello my friend, how are you? I hope all is well with you and your family. I'm doing fairly well. I'm sorry it's taken me so long to reply back to you this time. No excuse really, just everyday prison work. But most of it's all been the speed weeks in Daytona. This is always my favorite time of the year. I enjoy watching all the coverage from Daytona, which builds up to the great American race, the Daytona 500. Plus this is the year that's the 10th anniversary of Dale Sr.'s death, so it's been many specials on him. I'll never forget where I was on that day. Julie and I were on our way to Seattle, Washington, and the semi had to stop in Weed, California at a rest stop on Interstate 5 to watch the race. I really like how the one guy described NASCAR after Dale's death. He said NASCAR lost its swagger. That Dale brought swagger to the sport. No one else has been able to come close to filling his shoes, and that's for sure." Well, John, a few weeks back you asked me if there was anything I might want you to pass along to the readers, and I've given this much thought, so I guess here goes. First of all, I'd like to take a moment and thank all my friends and the people who support the many hours and the people who support the many hours of work that my friend John Bucher and his family have dedicated to bringing the injustice I'm suffering to light. I can't wait to read the book John has written about my story. I also need to thank my family. They've been a huge part of me being able to remain sane throughout this whole insane ordeal. I'm in contact with my family members daily, with the exception of the lockdowns the prison surprises us with. Their love and support has been great. As many of you might imagine, many times we talk about what is new or what's being said on the blog or the Facebook page. Generally, these conversations are all good. Every once in a while, someone who does not like me or the effort that's been done to bring the truth forward finds it necessary to attempt to taint the good with negativity and more lies. Amazingly, these comments all seem to come from one family and its friends and relatives. I spent countless hours trying to figure out why they harbor such negative feelings. Then it dawned on me, they're upset over their family name's exposure and all this. During my trial, there were several facts brought out. One significant thing is my DNA could not have positively be with a scientific accuracy be tied to this crime. Their DNA was present at the scene and was similar to mine, but could never be said it was positively mine. However, theirs was positive. DNA matches for June Bolstad, Lori Bolstad, Roger Bolstad, and Ed Bolstad, even DNA that matched a guy by the name of Lenny Huwalt. Theirs was YSTR DNA that matched all 17 points. Every male Bolstad on and around the victim's body. Their YSTR DNA, similar to mine, was also found around the body. However, the DNA of the crime scene technicians also held the same similarities as mine, therefore I could not be excluded. During my trial, the fact that had Ed Bolstad not drank himself to death, he also would have been charged with the murder that came to light, and would have been hard to explain a positive match DNA finding to the jury. It's no secret I was at Ada's house on the morning of June 5th. I was present when a Wisconsin probation officer came to talk to her. My DNA from a cigarette butt was found several rooms away from the victim, and she was also seen alive many times after my departure. Now let's move on to the next subject. In the summer of 1985, I was 19 years old. I, like many men my age during that time, had two things on my mind: girls and parties. During this time of my life, I dated and eventually moved in with June Bolstad. June had an apartment next door to her mother and father. June had a small daughter at the time, You could say lived next door to Grandma's house. She spent most of her time there and slept most of her time. The Bolsteads at that time were a close-knit family who gathered often to party. The Bolstead boys and their friends, the Bensons, the Carpenters, Sorensens, and the Nyers, were all known for their drunkenness and assaultive behaviors. Ed Bolstead had even been accused of and charged with stabbing a bouncer at a local bar who said to have been messed with his little brother. Ed was eventually acquitted as no witness could see him push the knife in. They only saw him pull it out. The lawyer successfully argued that Ed, being the nice guy he was, had only been trying to help the guy by pulling the knife out. What was that jury thinking? Now, the 20-plus years later, and only after $50,000 was offered, June and a couple of others have changed their stories. Now I'm even being accused of being physically assaultive towards her, or at least if you believe the words of a self-confessed liar. Now keep in mind, I'm 19 years old, have heard numerous stories of assaults the Bolstead boys and their friends have carried out on people who've wronged them or their family. I would have had to be either very brave or very stupid to lay a hand on their baby sister. I would have had many relationships with different women who've never been physically assaulted in any way by me. That's just not my style. I've spent countless hours trying to figure out why this family of haters continues to read and comment on efforts that John Bucher is making to expose this injustice. Then it dawned on me these people lied in an attempt to gain $50,000 and now wanting no more than to have all this disappear. After all, I'm granted a new trial. They'll really look like fools trying to remember the lies they told at the last one. Let alone, you never know who may be also charged with any number of charges. Chuck McLean and Tom Gort are not there anymore, so there goes all their protection. I could never understand how the self-confessed liars got away with this. In what country does lying to cover up a murder not make you just as guilty? It goes against everything we've ever heard. This just goes to show you the desperation that went into this whole frame-up. And the jury, my Lord, what were you thinking? Did you not listen to the evidence? No one knows anything until the investigators tell them what they wanted them to say. You sat right there, you listened to the recorded interviews, you heard the investigators say things like you'll do anything to get a conviction. You sat there and listened to the investigators plant their memories. Months later, they miraculously remembered new things that you never heard of ever say before that now make sense of where you're going with this. I guess the thing that upsets me the most is how people can care so little. Whether it's the Bolsteads, Rena Bamanek, the members of the jury, the Bible teaches us to forgive, and some days I find it hard to pray for all these people who orchestrated this frame-up. Yet day after day I continue to pray for these people because I know that one day they'll have to answer for their indiscretions. That, along with the fact that my family and friends who really knows me at all know this is nothing but a bunch of BS. Especially when you know somebody for years and years and that person's exactly the opposite of what the negative people are saying. Well, John, that's about it for this letter, as I want to get it in the mail. Once again, I'd like to say thank you to your family and friends and for all you're doing. Your friend, Jack.